Vocal compression can make your life easier when you get it right, and it can make it a lot tougher if you get it wrong. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to compress vocals from beginner level to advanced level on the Presonus StudioLive Series 3 console. Hey, if you're new here, my name's James, and I help church sound techs, worship leaders, and tech directors eliminate the mystery and frustration around sound at church. So if that's you, you found the right place, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and welcome to the club of sound ninjas. So today we're talking about vocal compression and how you can put it into practice on your Presonus StudioLive Series 3 console. Vocals are very dynamic, meaning they have sections where they're getting very loud and very quiet, and sometimes all of that is happening in a single phrase. So while it would be nice if we could just ride the faders up and down with our fingers all the time, that's not always practical. And so a compressor can help do some of that level management in the background for us. If you're unfamiliar with the compressor, let me show you around the controls on your Presonus StudioLive Series 3 console, and there might be one that you haven't noticed yet, so pay attention. From our fat channel, if we hit Comp, it'll take us to the compressor section, or if you want to, you can touch the screen here and it will take you over here. The on-off button here will either insert or bypass the compressor in the circuit. So if it's not on, you could be fiddling with all the knobs and it's not going to do anything. So make sure that that doesn't trip you up. The two controls that you really need to focus on are the threshold control. That shows us what point in the dynamic range we want to start applying our compression. Compression is a ratio of inputs to outputs. So more inputs coming in means not quite so many outputs come out. So at a ratio of 4:1, let's change this to 4:1, and that's a good starting place. If you get lost and don't know what to do, start at 4:1 or 3:1 if you want. It doesn't bother me. You got to experiment with stuff at some point. That's a good starting place for compressing input channels. Another tip that I like to give is that if you're an absolute beginner and you don't know what all these attack and release time things do, just go ahead and hit the auto button. That will automatically adjust to the timing components of whatever your input signal is doing and adjust things for you back there. So when in doubt, hit the auto button. Now the soft button makes a soft knee, or the transition from this part, which is 1:1 or 1 decibel of input gets to 1 decibel of output below the threshold, to our chosen ratio above the threshold. A soft knee makes that transition a little gentler. It doesn't show it very well on the screen here when I hit soft or not. Actually, I'm not seeing anything at all. But soft kind of makes that transition a little bit gentler. So you get milder compression close to but below the threshold. And as you go up above the threshold, then the full ratio is applied. So auto and soft are usually a good go-to if you don't know exactly what you want to do with the compressor. So you can focus on the main controls that you have, which are the threshold and eventually the makeup gain. The gain down here is how much we turn it up after we've turned down the signal with the compression. Now I'm going to keep this muted for now so that you don't hear it, but I'm going to show you what it looks like on the board. As I play this signal and I lower the threshold, you can see that as I lower the threshold, we get more gain reduction, or GR. This is how many decibels the signal is getting turned down by the compressor. Now, as you notice, as the signal level goes up on the input, the gain reduction comes down as the signal level goes above the threshold. We can also see the output level over here on this side, and that also includes what's happening with the gain or the makeup gain. So if we turn this down, we can see that the signal level is about there, and it's a little bit lower than it is on the input side. If we turn this up a lot, we can see that the output signal is a lot higher than the input signal was because we've used gain. Now, if we just turned up the input on the preamp, or we went to our preamp and boosted the signal before the compressor, this would mean that we would get more compression, or the dynamic range would be compressing lower in its overall dynamic range because we're turning up the input. We're basically making it compress more if we just turn up the preamp before the compressor. So if you make any adjustments to your preamp after you've adjusted the compressor, make sure that you're not getting too much gain reduction and check your threshold. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What is too much gain reduction? Well, a good rule of thumb on this board is somewhere between -4 and -8 is a good mild amount of compression for vocals. If we go up above that too much, will make the vocal sound squashed and it can get into trouble. But let's listen to some of it after I walk you through the steps on some of these basics here. So let me just do it on one vocal at a time so that we can hear what it's like, and then we can hear it in context of the bigger mix. So a good place to start is to make sure that the compressor is on. So you gotta make sure that the power button is on, and with the threshold all the way up. Go ahead and make sure that auto and soft are on, and we've chosen our ratio of 4:1. You can see it here as well. So as we turn down our threshold, we're gonna reach the point at which we start to get a little bit of gain reduction.
We lift your name. We lift your name up higher.
So we're seeing a little bit of this red light. That means that the compression is just touching on the very highest parts or the loudest parts of the vocal.
We lift your name up higher, higher. We lift your name up. Jesus be, so we'll sing hallelujah, hallelujah for the Lord our
So now we're getting a good amount of gain reduction, right? These things that might jump out at us are not jumping out at us. Let me turn it off so you can hear the difference.
We give you glory, you're the Lord our God. You reign, you reign. We sing hallelujah, hallelujah for the Lord our.
You hear how it's a lot more controlled with the compression on, but it's also not quite as loud, right? We've only turned it down at this point. So after we've gotten some gain reduction, and we think that it might be in the right spot, we can go to our gain, which is on the output of the compressor, and we can turn that up a little bit. You might go 3 or 5 dB, but you're gonna try to match the level with the compression on and with it off so that if you have to bypass it, you know that you're gonna be in okay shape. Your fader level won't need to adjust too much. So let's listen to what we do in that and compare to try to get it dialed in just right.
Our God, He reigns, He reigns. We have come to give you the glory. We give you glory, and you're the Lord our God. Yes, you reign. Let's declare you reign. You reign. You reign.
So we've gotten about the same level whether our compressor is on or off, and that's what we want to do to make sure that we're not messing with our gain structure too much. Now, one other pro tip that you might have missed on your console here is this button over here that says EQ and Comp. That means either our EQ comes before our compressor or our EQ comes after our compressor. Now, if you're not sure or not confident on how to EQ vocals on your Presonus StudioLive Series 3 console, which that's a mouthful, you can check out this video up here where I walk you through the process. And you can see on this vocal, I've already gone through that process to clear it up and to make sure that I'm cutting out the things that I don't want from this vocal. Because I've cut all this stuff, those are the things that I don't want triggering my compressor. So I like to have EQ first when I'm cutting more. And in live sound, I'm typically cutting before I boost because I want to reduce the chances that I'm gonna make something feed back with the EQ that I add. If we look back at the compressor and I switch whether the EQ or compression is first, we'll notice that there is more gain reduction on one or the other. Listen and see if you can hear the difference as well as seeing the difference in the gain reduction.
In glory and majesty, you stand alone. You stand alone. You stand alone. In glory and majesty, you stand alone. In glory and majesty, you stand alone. In glory and majesty, you stand. You stand. You stand alone. In glory.
So, did you see which one had more gain reduction? Because we are turning the signal down with our EQ, when it comes before the compressor, it essentially makes it so that the signal level is a little bit quieter, so we set our threshold a little bit lower. Now, with our EQ before the compressor still, let's hear what happens when we turn down our threshold too low so that we can know what to watch out for. Some of the sounds you might encounter in that situation are having it feel a little bit squashed, or it's not loud when it should be loud and it's too loud when it should be quiet. Or if you go to the extremes, the breaths can actually be louder than the words. Let's take a listen.
Glory and majesty, you stand alone. In glory and majesty, you stand alone. In glory and majesty, you stand alone. You stand alone. You stand alone. In glory and majesty, you stand alone. In glory and majesty, you stand alone. In glory. So we lift your name up higher.
So two things happened. I had to turn up the fader to get enough level because we're turning it down a bunch with our compressor. And did you notice that when he takes an inhale, it feels like a big gasp? And we don't want to draw attention to that. So that means that it's too much gain reduction and we need to raise our threshold back up again. If you're not quite identifying that with your ears yet, that's okay. But I'd say if you're getting above 12 dB of gain reduction, that might be too much. Now, I'm using a band in a box or recorded tracks to play back into my console. But in a live environment, if you compress too much and then turn up the fader, you could run the risk of feedback. That's because compression is a gain stage where we're turning it down automatically for the parts that we do want to listen to, but that means when the signal goes away and the compressor comes back up, we've pushed up that noise that might turn into feedback. If you're ready to dive into the attack and release times, here are some settings that I like to start with and what I tweak when I'm listening to different things. If I take off auto mode, you can see that I have the attack and release times available to me now. The attack time is how quickly it responds to increased input, and the release is how quickly it responds or recovers after the input has come back down. Even if it's stayed above the threshold, the release time will be how quickly it's going to move to that new gain reduction level. I typically like to live around 12 to 15 milliseconds of attack time. In general, when we turn the attack time faster, that makes our inputs thinner, and when we turn our attack time slower, that can make them thicker, and that 12 to 15 is a good happy medium for me for vocals. The slower attack time also means that certain notes might jump out a little bit. So you might have to speed it up if somebody's really punchy in their vocal and it's kind of like, feels like it's hitting you in the face. And you might need to slow it down if you want it to be a little bit thicker sounding. For the release time, 250 to 300 milliseconds is a good starting place, but if they have very fast syllables, like if they're rapping or singing something very, very fast, you might want to turn that release time a little bit slower so that each syllable gets matched a little bit better with the compression.
We lift your name up higher, higher. We lift your name up. Jesus be. You stand alone in glory and majesty. You stand alone in glory and majesty. You stand alone in glory and majesty. You stand alone. You stand alone. You stand alone in glory and majesty. You stand alone in glory and majesty. You stand alone. You stand alone. So we sing hallelujah, hallelujah for the Lord our God. He reigns.
So when our release time is too slow, we'll miss the next syllable or word. If our release time is too fast, sometimes the unwanted breaths come through a little bit more than we would like. Now there are different compressor types that are built into your console. If we click the little down arrow up here by standard, the included ones are tube and FET. The tube emulates an LA2A or an optical compressor that has tubes in it, and it's got two settings on it: gain and peak reduction. Peak reduction is the same as the threshold, and the more you turn it up, the more it turns the threshold down. So that's the way that that is mapped. The gain is like the makeup or the output gain. And whenever you change types, you need to make sure that you turn it on because it defaults to off. This one's not my particular favorite one, but you can experiment with it and see what you like. And if it works on your singers, I just haven't found it on the singers that I've been mixing to, it blows my mind. So let's take a listen.
He reigns. We give you glory. You're the Lord, and you reign. Hallelujah for the Lord. Hallelujah for the Lord our God. Yes, he reigns. We have come to give you all the glory. We give you glory, and you're the Lord our God. You reign. Let's declare you reign. You reign. You reign. You reign. You reign.
Let's listen to this one in the context of the band because we haven't done that yet. And that's an important part of hearing compression is how it lets your vocals stay on top even when the band is big. When it's by itself, of course, it's easy to hear every syllable because there's nothing that can get in the way. But the true test of great compression is that it keeps the vocal feeling like it's in your face the whole time. You hear how the vocal kind of got buried there when we turned off the compressor. That's what we're trying to listen for to see if we're doing it right. We want to make sure that all the parts of the phrase are staying audible and clear so that the people that we're leading can follow along and sing too. Another model that comes standard in any Presonus StudioLive Series 3 console is the FET compressor, and this is modeled after an 1176 style compressor. It's very fast and it can give you a very in-your-face sound, and its controls are a little bit different, so you have to be careful so that you don't create a feedback situation while you're mixing live with a live open microphone. You can see here that we can select our ratio with buttons, so there's 4:1, 8:1, 12:1, 20:1, and all is very aggressive. So maybe that could sound cool, but it might be a little bit much for a live situation if your mic is feedback prone. I just stick at 4:1. The input is how much input drives into a fixed threshold. So as we turn up the input, we'll get more gain reduction. The output is the makeup gain. So we've kind of got to balance both of those so that we don't turn down the signal too much and that we get the right amount of gain reduction that we want. It's a little bit trickier. The attack times are very, very fast. So even if we set it as slow as it can go, that's still 0.8 milliseconds. And the release time default is 250 milliseconds. Let's go ahead and turn it on so that it's in our signal path, and let's take a listen to this one.
We lift your name up higher, higher. We lift your name up. Jesus be glorified. We lift your name up higher, higher. We lift your name up. Jesus be glorified. Your name up higher, higher. We lift your name up. Jesus be glorified. We lift your name up higher, higher. We lift your
I'm going to turn the release time a little bit faster.
Jesus be, so we'll sing hallelujah, hallelujah for the Lord our God. He reigns.
This one grabs a little bit more than I like. I don't know how to explain it other than it's kind of like it doesn't quite do enough and then it does a ton. So this one isn't necessarily the one that I love to put on vocals, but your mileage might vary. If you've sprung for the plug-in pack or the expansion pack for your StudioLive Series 3 console, the one that I really like is the Everest C100A. This is a lot like the LA2A model or the tube model, but I get a little bit more control over the attack and the release time, so I can keep my attack fast, medium, or slow, and I can have my release fast, medium, or slow. Make sure to turn it on as always. Oh, there's the switch for it, or you can touch right over here. And again, we've got gain and we've got gain reduction. It's the same kind of thing. Let's listen to this one. I feel like it's worth the upgrade to get this one, but you listen and find out and see for yourself.
We lift your name up higher, higher. We lift your name up. Jesus be glorified. We lift your name up higher, higher. We lift your name up. Jesus be glorified. Right here in Corner Church, be glorified. Sing, we lift your name.
just for fun, let's take this one too far and see how it sounds when we totally crush this vocal.
Higher, higher, we lift your name. Jesus be, so we'll sing hallelujah, hallelujah for the Lord our God. He reigns, he reigns. And we give you glory, you're the Lord our God. You reign, we sing hallelujah.
All right, so I've got the gain reduction knob dimed or turned all the way up, and it's still not too much. And it actually, to me, makes it sound a little bit fuller when it hits in the compression, and that's what I like. I like the compressor to change the tone of the vocal as they get louder and more strident. I want the compressor to push back and make it warmer so that I can get a big loud vocal on top of my mix and have it not hurt. So this one is definitely my go-to for that. It's fantastic. It's kind of like the easy button after you get it dialed in. You don't really have to worry about it after that point. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you in discovering how to apply compression if you're a beginner, or hopefully if you're a more experienced tech, that you've picked up some more tips and tricks on how to get compression dialed in on your Presonus console. And if you need help figuring out what to do for your sound check to make sure that nothing gets missed, I've made a sound check checklist that you can download and customize. You can find a link to that down in the description below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, mash that thumbs up, and remember, it's all about the low end. Avoid the sound tech solo, and nobody leaves church humming the kick drum. We'll see you back here next time on Attaway Audio.